It's all part of death's sadistic design, leading to the grave.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 scariest movie monsters you don't see.
I've been intrigued by the supernatural, or rather the possibility of the supernatural. I'm here in hopes of proving its existence.
For this list, we'll be looking at the freakiest entities from horror movies that either remain off-screen or invisible, even if later sequels ultimately ruin the mystery. Though the antagonists can't be seen, spoilers can. Which of these did you find the scariest? Let us know in the comments below. Number 10. The Creatures. Bird Box. This Netflix movie became a phenomenon due to its tantalizing premise.
Under no circumstance are you allowed to take off your blindfold. If I find that you have, I will hurt you. Do you understand?
Well, that and the ill-advised blindfold challenge. In this movie, some type of unknown creatures begin terrorizing the Earth. One mere look at them is enough to cause instant insanity and drive someone to take their own life.
She stepped out of the car, right into the street.
As a result, survivors are forced to wear blindfolds whenever they venture outside. The genius thing about this movie is that we never see the monsters, which of course helps us sympathize with the characters and their plight. It not only places us in their shoes, but it helps us generate an unbearable amount of tension. Like the characters, we're not allowed to look at the creatures, and that makes them all the more terrifying.
It's the end game, man. Huh?
I'm sorry, what?
The end game. Humanity has been judged and we've been found wanting.
Number 9. The Entity. The Entity. Even the movie doesn't know what this thing is. The title alone spurs the imagination. What is the Entity? How does it work? What does it do? Well, it's not pretty.
And what do you think happened?
The titular entity harasses single mother Carla Moran, plaguing her with poltergeist activity and violent assaults. Her psychiatrist doesn't believe her paranormal reports. Instead, he thinks Carla is both delusional and deeply traumatized, and wishes for her to have herself committed.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some tranquilizers, okay? They won't knock you out, but they will reduce your anxiety, which can be as bad as the delusion itself. I want you to take 2 before you go to sleep.
But the truth is far more malicious. Audiences, like Carla, never actually see the entity. But also like Carla, we know it's there. At the end of the day, though, there's nothing scarier than not being believed.
Call the police! Call the police!
Mom, there's no one in the house. The front door's locked. No one came to the garage.
You didn't see anybody? You didn't hear anyone?
No, only when you screamed.
Number 8. The Boogeyman. The Boogeyman. Every child fears the Boogeyman. But as we eventually grow to find out, the Boogeyman isn't real.
I can't escape it. At night. It still haunts me, and there must be a reason.
At least not as a physical entity. This movie has been criticized for copying Halloween, only replacing the corporeal Michael Myers with an invisible mirror ghost. Years earlier, young Willie killed his mother's boyfriend. However, some kind of magical mirror captured the man's spirit, and when the mirror is broken 20 years later, the spirit is set free to begin a vengeful killing spree.
It keeps haunting me. I don't want to remember.
While we do briefly see the spirit in the mirror before it's broken, all its evil deeds are done under the cover of invisibility. We always fear what we can't see.
I know I saw him. Are you all right?
Number 7. The Cosmic Creature. Resolution. A great cosmic movie from independent filmmakers Justin Benson and Aaron Scott Moorhead. Resolution does a lot with its meager $20,000 budget. Such is the magic of keeping the evil off-screen and its machinations creative.
Oh, we gotta get through this thing here. Okay, we don't even know if it can do anything to us.
Resolution begins simply enough, with protagonist Michael attempting to get his friend Chris off drugs by isolating him in a remote cabin.
I need to go to rehab. I'm ready, man. I'm ready for you to take me to rehab.
However, things quickly go off the rails, and the movie veers hard into cosmic territory. Michael discovers that the area is plagued by some type of entity with the ability to bend reality. We don't know what it is, all we know is that it has one heck of a roar.
Can we try it another way?
And that is plenty scary enough. Number 6. The Mothman. The Mothman Prophecies.
I think we can assume that these entities are more advanced than us. Why don't they just come right out and tell us what's on their minds?
This horror film starring Richard Gere and Laura Linney is based on John Keel's book of the same name. A very popular work of cryptozoology, the Mothman Prophecies recounts the famous Mothman sightings that plagued West Virginia in the mid to late 60s. Keel famously linked the Mothman to the collapse of the Silver Bridge, and this becomes a major plot point in the movie adaptation. The Mothman itself is never really seen, rather its presence is depicted through creepy drawings, nightmares, and mysterious phone calls.
You're Gordon Smallwood.
Your father was born in Racine, Wisconsin. He lived in a greenhouse on Monroe Street. You don't remember how your mother looked?
Okay, you got my attention.
What's even creepier is that the events of the movie are never really explained. We, like the characters, are forced to work everything out for ourselves. That's much scarier than some goofy CGI man-moth thing. Number 5. He Who Walks Behind the Rose, Children of the Corn. The titular Children of the Corn have killed all the adults in the remote town of Gatlin, Nebraska. After doing so, they flee into the cornfields and live as a cult worshipping a mysterious entity. They kill outlanders and anyone who turns 19 as sacrifices to the unseen creature.
Sarah has the gift of sight. She warned us of the coming of the interlopers.
All we see of He Who Walks Behind the Rose is some type of bright supernatural light that envelops cult leader Isaac. We also don't know much about him, though he does eventually appear in Children of the Corn 3 Urban Harvest. Any monster that can convince children to kill their own parents is plenty scary in our book, especially when we don't see it. Number 4. The Ghosts, The Haunting. The genius thing about The Haunting is that the evil might not actually exist.
Eleanor did it to herself. Looked to me anyway like she deliberately aimed the car at this tree.
This movie is based on Shirley Jackson's novel The Haunting of Hill House, whose ambiguity has remained tantalizing. A paranormal investigator named John Markway conducts a study at the titular Hill House, wishing to determine once and for all if it's haunted. He invites a troubled woman named Eleanor Lance to stay in the house, and she begins experiencing harmful and frightening paranormal phenomena.
What did you say your name was?
Eleanor Lance, and I am expected in Hill House. Unlock those gates at once.
Like most ghost movies, the entities in question remain invisible and off-screen. Of course, there's also the possibility that there are no ghosts, as the mentally disturbed Eleanor may have imagined it all. The deliberate ambiguity has helped make The Haunting a horror classic.
God. Whose hand was I holding?
Number 3. Death, Final Destination franchise. Death isn't a traditional monster, but an intangible force that cannot be stopped. And in this series, it finds some really creative ways to claim its victims.
It was an accident. In death, there are no accidents, no coincidences, no mishaps, and no escapes.
In every film, the protagonist saves a group of people from a grisly demise after having a premonition. However, the survivors are now in debt to death, and it has come to collect.
Now you have to figure out how and when it's coming back at you.
Death remains entirely invisible throughout the series. Instead, it claims its victims by using elaborate Rube Goldberg-esque machinations that make their deaths look like accidents.
What happened? You caused Todd so much guilt over George staying on the plane, he took his own life. No. Look, he wouldn't do that.
It's a terrifying concept, and there may be the only movies that have us living in constant paranoia for a while. There really are a lot of everyday things that can kill someone. Number 2. Toby, Paranormal Activity franchise. The first Paranormal Activity is still the best, and that's due to its simplicity. Forget the complex world building and family history of the sequels. This is just a simple ghost story that's told and filmed effectively. Katie and Mika are tormented by a demon, later affectionately named Toby, inside their house, and the latter sets up cameras to capture the paranormal activity.
Well, hopefully once we get on camera, we can figure out what's going on.
Okay.
Once we know what's going on, we can react appropriately.
Said activity begins as the traditional bumps, doors, creaks, and flickering lights. However, it quickly escalates to biting, dragging out of bed, and even what looks like demonic possession. The most we see of Toby are the creepy footprints it leaves behind in the baby powder. Even if you don't believe in ghosts, this movie had you sleeping with the lights on.
Turn on the light, babe.
Just get out, let's go downstairs. Still here, let's go.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Number 1. The Blair Witch, The Blair Witch Project. Opinion on the Blair Witch Project remains firmly divided. Either keeping the witch off screen was a genius and creative move by the filmmakers, or it was a massive letdown that left viewers scratching their heads. For 80 tense minutes, we watched through the cameras of Heather, Mike, and Josh as they're seemingly stalked through the woods by a malicious entity.
What happened?
Nothing happened. I'm just very hungry. I'm very tired. And I'm very scared and I just want to go home, okay?
Supposedly, it's the Blair Witch, but who really knows? That, however, is the whole fun of the movie. We don't know much about the story or the mythology. The filmmakers leave everything intentionally ambiguous, and we're forced to make our own answers.
It was like a woman, only on her arm, on her hands and everything. It was like hair, like a real dark, almost black hair.
Maybe some people don't like that, but it's scarier than any on-screen witch could ever be. The 2016 sequel proves as much.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.